So welcome to this episode of Everyday Enchantment. I am your host, Stacey Andon, and today we're going to talk about how do you know when or how you have intuitive gifts. I'm going to tell you the story about how I discovered that so that you hopefully can recall and access your own knowing as well too. So let's dive in and talk about intuitive gifts today. I'm gonna tell you a story about when I was like, I don't know, 7 years old, and I might have talked about this before. I We would go on long car rides. Most of my mother's family didn't live near us. It was at least 4 hours, 5 hours. Sometimes we went 8 or 9 hours on a trip, and so we would play games like guess what animal I'm thinking of, guess what color I'm thinking of, and all these different games like along the lines of that. So at the time, I had no idea that I could read energy and read people's thoughts so easily, right? When you're young, you're in it. You are in your gifts in a way that you're not thinking like, "Oh my gosh, I shouldn't do it." You're just doing your life. And there's something really beautiful about that time that I think all of us can look back on if we have access to those memories and say, what naturally was I just doing? One of the other things that I did all the time is just hang out in the woods, in the gardens. I always wanted to be outside in Mother Nature. So, again, these are things that naturally, before the world told me what I should be doing, I already gravitated toward. So, maybe you had a really interesting sensory, gift. Maybe you could smell, like if parents were cooking something or somebody was making something, you could smell it, or you could smell certain people when they walked in the room, or you could hear things, whether it was like a voice coming through, or you could see things. Again, all of that I think happens so naturally when we're younger and we don't have the filters yet. So I had this gift. I could, whatever the animal was, whatever the color was, I can still do it now. Although I will say to you, and this is me being really, really honest, is at the time, right? I didn't think about it. I just did it, and I didn't. Nobody at the in that moment was asking me yet how I did all of these things. Then as I started to kind of lean into these gifts when I was an adult, because there was kind of a gap there when my father was trying to figure out how I did all of this when I was young. And he ran all these like experiments on me with like putting me in one room, having me have construction paper that was a certain color, and he was going to guess it. Like I felt like ET, right? Like I was getting poked and prodded in a way that did not feel good, in a way that felt like I needed to perform. I needed to use my gifts in some kind of performative way. And I think as an adult, when I started to kind of, again, use them more intentionally, I got caught up a little bit in this performative space of these need to do something for other people rather than allowing them to come through in a way whatever that was. And it was interesting years ago when I was going through my master coach program and I was sitting with Martha Beck, who is who I was trained with. And she said, it's interesting. She was coaching me in the moment because she was coaching me on this, like, is all my magic real? I was really struggling in that moment with that. And she was supporting me. And she said to me, when a major league baseball player gets up to bat and he's gonna, I don't know, maybe he's gonna hit a single or a home run or whatever. His batting average is like a great batting average, like 3.333 or 350 or whatever it is. And it's not and that means basically for every 10 times the person comes up to bat, 3 out of 10 times something amazing happens. And so she was saying to me in that moment, again, do you trust that your gifts don't have to always be a 10 out of 10. And again, in the human frame of that expectation of they have to always be spot on, they have to be right, they have to be a home run every time. And so that gave me a lot of permission to, like, first of all, slow my own roll a little bit with my expectations and let my gifts again have more of their own voice. And for me, my role is allowing them to channel through me rather than me having to figure them out, to explain them, to make them, again, be in some performative role to show off, hey, look, I can do this. That kind of thing, right? Because that's the other thing. Then people are like, oh, do me and do me. And again, it can feel a lot of pressure. As a child, I didn't feel that until my father started trying to figure it out. And then I just got this message, or maybe I just was like, I'm shutting this down. I still had them. They still were inside me. I just didn't put them out as publicly. I was way more aware of, again, this isn't something that people understand. And I also was raised in a family where nobody else around me was like, "Yes, be intuitive. Yes, use your gifts. Yes, use your body to figure out whether you wanna do something or not." I grew up around people who are very much in their head, analyzing, logical. What you see in front of you is how you were guided versus what you feel and what you know that you can't necessarily see. So it became a really garbled, kind of wonky mess for me for a while, even though, like, there would be times I remember saying, when I was teaching, like 5 or 6 of my fellow colleagues and coworkers were all getting pregnant, and I was like, "Oh, that person's gonna have a girl, or that person's gonna have a boy," or whatever. Like, I could feel the gender of the baby coming through, and it was just an interesting thing because I generally was pretty spot on. And again, it was just a feeling, and it was just fun, and it didn't even matter. I mean, again, it was just something playful, and the idea is that when we are in that kind of relaxed, playful state, ooh, can't say that word today. When we are there, again, I have a feeling you'll find your gifts flow more easily. You're not in your head trying to control it. You're not trying to figure out, well, how is this working and is it real? Again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. We're human. We're going to have a brain that's going to be wanting to figure it all out. But we don't have to prescribe to the energy of that. And I actually think when we just say to ourselves, I don't have to have it all figured out. I don't have to know how it all works for it to work. There's so much liberation and freedom in that. And then it's like, well, let's just play. Like, what if everything on this spectrum of intuitive gifts I have access to? What do I want to play with? Do I want to play with mediumship? Do I want to play with, channeling? Do I want to play with, again, clairvoyance, clairaudience, all the different ways that we can expand these things that I believe we're all carrying within us. Now, some of us might say, yeah, Stace, no, that's not me. I really believe, and I think I've used this metaphor before. It's like if you've never been to the gym before and all of a sudden you do a bicep curl, it's going to take some time to develop that muscle. The same thing is, you're gonna have that same kind of questioning or approach. It's like, "Oh, this doesn't feel exactly like I know what I'm doing," right? And yet, as you practice, as you play, as you connect back, again, if you have that memory of like, what did I naturally gravitate toward as, again, something that just came through me, and maybe people just felt better in your presence. Maybe you have a very healing energy about you. People just wanted to come and be around you because they felt better. That's something as well too. It doesn't have to have some picture perfect definition around it. You get to be whatever it is. And if you don't know, what do you feel drawn to? What kind of gifts and what kind of things would be fun if you did have them that you might want to start to Again, explore. This is about having an intuitive adventure with yourself. This isn't about going to school and learning something and replicating it and getting an A for the teacher, the school system, or what have you. No, this is like, okay, you have this gift inside of you. And for the most part, most of us did not grow up in an environment where it got nurtured, or maybe some of us did, and yet then we got out into the world and the world was like, "Well, wait a second. What's the data around that? No, 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 no." And so what I find is as more and more of us are coming into some type of, again, shift, awakening, whatever you want to call it, as the planet is moving toward a new energy system, a new paradigm. These gifts, these skills, these things you have within you are absolutely going to lead not only our own personal lives, but lead this planetary change. And so the more you play, the more you experiment, the more you do all of these things, the more again it supports your own growth. And again, in fun ways. We think of growth and awakening having to be these big painful moments, right? Like expansion through trauma, which I absolutely understand because that's what I've experienced too. And a couple years ago I said I'm done expanding through some crazy ass trauma. I'm not choosing that intentionally. Again, if I have a choice, both the choices are on the table, how can we grow into these shifts with more ease and more fun and ways, again, that really help us? Again, with all the energies that are going through, if your body's been feeling off lately, mine has, it is a way for us, again, to come back in, to ground back into our own knowing, to say, okay, what am I noticing? Am I noticing my body tingles in a certain way during certain situations? Am I noticing that, like, when I do go outside on a walk, I hear the animals speaking to me. I hear the trees speaking to me. Maybe you hear people on the other side coming through, again, with messages and support. Everybody is a little bit different, and that's the beautiful thing about being a human. And, the soul human piece of it is each of us gets this unique magical blueprint that we get to bring to the world. Nobody has it exactly like you. Nobody has it exactly like me. And the best thing is nobody's better or not, right? Like this isn't about a hierarchy. This is about everybody being able to give themselves permission to explore it, to lean into it, to think about, again, what you already know, or start fresh and begin right now with, ooh, what do I want to know about being more intuitive? So whether you were a little like me that like got started and then was shut down at some point, or you were the person that again is like blooming now, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong way to do it. It's how do you want to be it now in terms of, again, how do you want to be on the planet in a meaningful way? Your gifts are going to help you do that. How do you want to like have joy daily in your life and more ease? Your gifts are that compass that are going to help you do it so you don't have to swirly swirl 20 times. Although, again, I've swirly swirled a gazillion times. And now I realize I have this system, I've had it all along that will help me, again, in this particular period, expand in a way that does not have to always be this like dark, suffering space. Yeah, there's darkness, there's moments where you go down. And yet, again, what I have found in my own journey is I don't stay there and spiral the way I used to because I have so many tools and so many things within me that support me that I can access now that I didn't even realize I could. So if this interests you at all of this, I highly recommend coming over and joining my Everyday Enchantment Facebook group because we play with this all the time. And I absolutely would love to do some one-on-one coaching with you this fall and help you expand that. That's my School of Magic, teaching people all the ways to use their intuition kind of as a starting off point. So I teach you something so then you get to go make it your own. So if that is interesting and intriguing to you, let's talk more about that. Send me an email, reach out to me, send me a message, and we will chat. All right, lovelies, until we meet again, let me know what kind of intuitive gifts you are blessed with and how you're using them, what you would like to know more about. I can't wait to hear your questions, your comments, all the things. Until next time, I will see you on the flip side. That's it for now, loves. Thank you for tuning in to this episode. Get all the juicy details and links we've mentioned in the show notes. If learning more about how you can use your own enchantment to live a oh hell yes life, come get your own coaching session with me by going to stacyandon.com and signing up for my homepage. And as always, come chat with me about this topic and all things enchantment in my Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment. See you on the flip side.